Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to another live. Before I get started, I'd really appreciate if someone can confirm if they can hear and see me, because it's raining quite heavily here and sometimes the connection is quite poor. So if you can hear me, just put a wave or a little comment there so that I know, and then I can get started. Great. So some of the questions that I have received in the last couple of weeks have been focusing on the role of the adult in the Montessori philosophy, or the role of the adult in the Montessori classroom. And a lot of people have been asking me that if we're not, if our role is not centered around teaching the children new things and all of that, then actually what is it that the adult is supposed to do? And another question that I got from a few people is, do Montessori teachers actually lose it sometimes? Because Montessori teachers appear to be very kind of composed and happy, and they don't seem to be stressed, and do they lose it? So what I would like to do in today's video is I would like to address the role of the adult, and also address what it is actually that happens when we as adults lose ourselves when it comes to children, and when we find ourselves kind of reverting to old habits, or interacting with our children in ways that we prefer not to. So what actually happens with that? So first of all, for us to fully understand the role of the adult, we have to understand what the child is. The child is a being just like us, on their own journey of growth and development. And that journey of growth and development follows a natural, divine pattern, a divine unfolding. And development and learning is something that happens spontaneously for all children. The learning and development is not dependent on the adult teaching the child things, but learning is something that is going to take place anyway. So that is the child. And Dr. Montessori observed to see how can we best, as adults, support this natural learning and development that is taking place. Now, the mainstream idea of an adult is that you are superior to the child, superior in terms of your development, superior in terms of your knowledge, superior in terms of your ability. And so you have authority over the child because of this superiority. And then the adult is supposed to fill the child with their own knowledge, with their own experience, with their own ideas. This is the mainstream idea that we see in schools all around us. And Maria Montessori and other educational philosophers, they discovered that actually that's not what learning is. Learning is not filling the child. Learning is not that the child is an empty vessel that needs to be filled. But learning is something that naturally takes place in every single living being. And children are naturally hardwired to learn. So the role of the adult is not to fill the child with knowledge and experience, and it's not to fill the child with your own knowledge and experience. But the role of the adult is to support the child on their journey of learning and development, to support, to facilitate, to guide. That's why if you look at Montessori literature, you'll see that Dr. Montessori refers to the adult as a directress or a facilitator or a guide, not necessarily a teacher, although we commonly use the word teacher now. And in the Montessori environment, if you hear the word teacher, we know that what we mean by teacher is somebody who is supporting and facilitating and guiding the child's learning, but not somebody who is the center of attention. So straight away, if you understand what child development is, and that the child is on their own journey of learning and development, straight away you'll realize that the teaching is not all about you. What we tend to see is that as parents, as mainstream teachers, we believe that we're superior to the child and we have something that we have to do to the child. So we try to control them so that they conform to us, so that they listen to us, so that they take on what we are giving them, right? And because we have this false idea that we have to, control the child for them to learn, we get into this power struggle. where we're trying to make the child do something, but the child themselves, not that they're fighting our what we want them to do. It's not that they're necessarily fighting us, but the child themselves has their own journey of learning and development. And when we interfere by being the ones that are trying to direct the child away from their natural learning and development to what it is that we want them to do, then that's when we begin to see all of these power struggles and problems that come up. So if you yourself are naturally, fully accept and believe that your interaction and your role with the child is as a facilitator, as a guider, following the child, then a lot of these frustrations that we get as teachers, or these frustrations that we get as adults, will naturally drop away. So usually Montessori teachers who are well developed in their understanding of the theory and have enough experience, usually will see that these Montessori teachers, the majority of the time, they are composed, they are happy, they're not stressed, because they know that the child has their own pre-scheduled, innate journey of learning and development. And if we follow that, the child is going to be progressing, they are going to be learning, they are going to develop, so the stress is not on us, right? But as soon as you try to take control of the child, that's when you begin to see the stress, that's when you begin to see the frustration. And this is a reminder to me as a mother, because as mothers, we have all these ambitions and wishes and hopes for our child. We have all these things that we wish our child can do, right? And when we begin to enforce that on our child, we begin to kind of pull them away from the natural learning and development that takes place. And this causes frustration for us as adults and for the child, because they're not allowed to do what it is that they need to do. They're not allowed to, progress and learn as they are naturally designed to. And we begin to see this frustration coming up. So as a parent, when I observe my son and when I see that what he's going through is a natural path of learning and development, whatever it is, sometimes the children will go through struggle, sometimes they'll have their ups and their downs. But if we know that this is in line with the natural learning and development, straight away, that gives us as parents that ability to relax, and instead of feeling the pressure that we may feel as teachers and parents when we are interacting with our children, we feel we get to enjoy it. We get to go through this journey enjoying it with our children. But in order for us to do that, we have to understand the Montessori philosophy. So the Montessori philosophy in itself is going to help you to understand your child, so that you no longer feel that you have to control your child or force your child to do things. It will help you to understand your child, to understand the miracles of development that's going to take place if we just give the child the freedom and the space to learn and develop according to the natural stages that are coming and taking place, and according to life. If we give the space for the child to learn according to life, then we will ourselves be able to enjoy this process of the child growing and developing, rather than find it stressful. So first of all, we have to understand the philosophy. But Montessori emphasized something that's really, really important. I think this is a very unique aspect of the Montessori philosophy, and there's not many other educational philosophers that have arrived to this understanding, and that is that in order for an adult to properly support a child on their journey, that adult has to be spiritually prepared, right? Spiritual preparation is such an integral part of the Montessori philosophy. If the adult does not have that spiritual preparation, Montessori tells us that we will hinder the child's development. We will get in the way. Because as we have grown up ourselves, we have accumulated all these ideas and these perceptions and this prejudice, and we have all of our expectations about life, whether it's our life or the child's life, or what children should learn at what age and what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. Over our own lives, we've gathered all of this perception and baggage, right? And then when we have children, we try to fit them within the boundaries of those perceptions that we have created, right? We try to fit the child within this idea that we have created in our mind about who the child is and how the child should be and how they should behave. In order for us to clear ourselves from all of that, we have to go through spiritual preparation. So Dr. Montessori really emphasizes this. And she tells us in one of her really famous quotes that in order for the adult to truly be with the child and support the child, we have to undergo spiritual preparation and remove our most deeply rooted defects, because those defects are the ones that are going to prevent us and stop us from seeing the child as they truly are and supporting them on their journey of learning and development. Unfortunately, there are so many training centers that skip the spiritual preparation of the adults. So many training centers. I've seen this time and time again. But if you go to a really good Montessori training center, they will really emphasize the spiritual growth and development of the adult so that you can properly support the Montessori child. So, Dr. Montessori is telling us we have to remove our most deeply rooted defects. And I'm telling you, as somebody who has been on this Montessori journey for 18 years, that journey of spiritually preparing yourself and spiritually changing yourself, it never ends. The deeper I go inside myself, the more things I find that I need to change about myself. And it's those things that are defects inside me that block me from being able to truly be with the child, being able to truly understand the child and truly support them on their journey of learning and development. So the adult has to take that. If you do not take that time to spiritually prepare yourself, you are blinded from the child who is in front of you. And when you are blinded, you are going to act according to whatever preconception you have, and you're going to try to control the child. You're going to try to make them fit into whatever idea you have from before. And that is when you're going to see these power struggles. That's when you're going to see these difficulties. That's when you're going to find that you lose it. So this idea of adults losing themselves and losing their composure is because we ourselves are not prepared. It's nothing to do with the child, actually. Children should be able to have full-blown tantrums in front of the adult, but the adult doesn't feel frustrated, or the adult doesn't feel hurt, or the adult doesn't react, because the adult should be able to see that the fact that the child has reacted in that way means that there's an underlying thing that we need to support them in. But if we are interacting with the child carrying all of that baggage, then as soon as the child acts in a certain way, it ticks us off. So you have to go through that clearing in your own self, that spiritual preparation. There's many different ways to do that. I spoke in one of my videos about how I have a spiritual teacher who will guide me, and I also have connections to other people who really, they're role models for me in terms of their own growth in emotionally and spiritually. And so I get time to discuss with them so that I can grow and become more and more spiritually prepared to be with the children. So when you spiritually prepare yourself and you understand the Montessori philosophy, what you find happens inside you is you develop this deep-seated trust in the child. You develop this trust that the child is innately good and that their actions are driven by their inner drive for learning and development. And when you have that trust, children will understand that you are interacting with them based on that respect and that trust, and they themselves will interact differently with you as an adult. They'll interact differently with you. So as soon as you clear yourself out spiritually and you prepare yourself as an adult, the children will know that energy that you have has shifted, and they themselves will shift how they interact with you, because they are actually much more spiritual than we are. So when we align ourselves spiritually, the child is able to connect with us at a much deeper level. So some of you might be asking that, if our role is not to so-called teach the child, and if the Montessori environment is not an adult-centered environment and the teacher's not supposed to stand at the front of the classroom and it's not evolving around the adult, the parent or the adult, And Montessori is advocating this child-centered, opportunity of giving the child the opportunity to grow according to their natural, natural drives. Then what is it that the adult is supposed to do? This is a question that comes up a lot. If I'm not supposed to be teaching like teachers in school, what am I supposed to do with my child? Montessori tells us two main roles of the Montessori adult, and this will be your role even if you are a parent or you are a teacher in a school, or even if you don't have children. These are the two main roles of the adult in facilitating growth and development. And the first one, which we've spoken about a lot already, is observation. So the first role of the adult is to build the capacity to be able to observe the child. In order to observe the child properly and accurately, you have to be spiritually prepared. If you are observing the child and at the back of your mind you have all of your preconceptions and your ideas and your judgments and everything that you've had programmed into you for so many years, and you're observing the child, you're not going to see what is truly going on and happening in the child. So again, you have to clear yourself spiritually so that you can observe the child and truly see what's happening, and then you'll discover what it is that the child is showing you that they need for their growth and development. And the second role that Montessori emphasized for the adult is preparation of the environment, which again we've spoken about. And those of you who've listened to all of my lives, you'll see that these two themes keep coming up: preparation of the environment, observation, and follow the child. These keep coming up again and again because these are the foundation of the Montessori method. So your role as the adult is not to give lots of lessons, and your role as the adult is not to stand there at the center of the classroom and have the children be like you or copy you or act like you or control the children. That's not your role. In fact, Montessori teachers don't even try to control the children. Our role is to observe the child so that we can know what they need for their development, and then prepare the environment based on those observations so that the environment is supporting each individual child's natural learning and development. And once we do those two things, we can begin to see the child acting according to their natural urges, according to their natural drive. So sometimes some of you have told me that you observe your children, you prepare an environment, but your child is not really engaging in the environment. And this happens as well in Montessori schools, that sometimes we will have the beautiful classroom, we'll have a new student, they're not really interacting with the environment. So at the beginning, the Montessori teacher is the bridge between the child and the environment. So at the beginning, we have this role of trying to seduce the child into interacting with the environment. Right? We try to find those things that we think will interest each individual child, and we try to hook them to the environment so that the child becomes connected to the environment. And once we see that the child is connected to the environment, the Montessori teacher can take a step back. The teacher can take a step back from that role and let the child be free to learn according to their natural path and development. So those are the two main roles. One is to observe the child. Two is to prepare the environment. But in order to do both of those, you have to be spiritually prepared. If you are spiritually prepared, you don't find being with children stressful. You don't find teaching children stressful. You don't find it stressful whether a child engages with an activity or doesn't engage with activity. You don't find any of it stressful. You find it all rather entertaining. I mean, that's how I see it. When I'm in a classroom with children, even if they're doing something that's completely different from what we intended for them to do, I find it really entertaining. When you are spiritually prepared, you begin to have this deep curiosity about the natural development that is taking place. That shift of mindset that you have from being the one that is controlling the child and trying to force the child into your ideas and your hopes for them and whatever it is, that shift away from that to being somebody who's truly ready to observe and see what's naturally taking place will automatically remove a lot of the stress that parents have, a lot of the anxiety that we have. And this is something that, I have to remind myself time and time again. For me, my son is 16 years old, as I've mentioned so many times. So he's 16 years old. He's in the adolescent stage. The adolescent stage is one of the stages that I understand the least. So when he came to about the age of 14, 15, I began to feel like, hang on a minute. is what's going on natural, or have I done something wrong? And I know that stress and anxiety that I had of not knowing whether what, you know, his actions and his things natural or not, that led me to have this kind of great fear and anxiety, and that went on to him. But as soon as I aligned myself, came back to the center point that children, no matter what age, they are driven by the natural forces, and you know, at the age of 16, this is a key stage. So there are certain characteristics and certain drives that are going on. As soon as I aligned myself and took the time to know more about the development of the adolescents, then I felt that I could enjoy the stage that I have with him. And this is relevant to children at all ages. So if you as a parent or you as a teacher are finding that you are stressed, or that you have a lot of anxiety around your children, you're feeling really, really unsettled, you don't know whether what your child is doing is right or wrong, or you find that you're power struggling with your child because you're trying to get them to do something but they're refusing to do it, you find that there's a lot of power struggles, then what you need to start doing is take that step back, spiritually prepare yourself, remove all of those ideas and preconceptions and judgments that we have accumulated over all of these years, right? Remove all of them, clear yourself so that you can be present with the child, observe the child, and then you will see what they truly need for their learning and development. And that's just a really quick whiz through. I hope it's made sense, because I think I might have gone around a bit, but I hope it's meant to say that. It's a very, very quick whiz through what the Montessori role of the adult is focused on: spiritual preparation, observation, and preparation of the environment. And you can do that whether you are a Montessori teacher, a parent, a grandparent, or even if you don't have children, you can apply that to your life in general. So I hope that's been beneficial, and I hope it's answered your questions. And I'll be back tomorrow with another live on another Montessori topic. So thank you very much for joining.